Hello and welcome back to HT Youth. Welcome to this brand new term, and I'm going to introduce a brand new series. Get excited. Drum roll please. Our series for this term is all about relationships. Relationships. Now when I say relationships, I know some of you straight away you're like, relationships? Like, you know, that person that I have a secret crush on, dating, all that. We're not just talking about that, okay? We are going to talk about that in a slightly less embarrassing way than I just did, hopefully. We are going to talk about that. But when we say relationships, we mean something a bit big picture. Think about it like this. If you drew like a map and you put, in the middle, you put me. And then you drew a line to everyone that you're going to connect with in your life. So, you know, you go over here and you have your family or your home, the people that you see every day. And you go up here and you have your friends from various places. And then you have school and your workplace. And you have church and all the people you interact with there. You have all the people in the shops that you're going to just be like, hello, thank you so much. You have your neighbours, you have people that you pass on the street. All these connections, they are your relationships. You know, most of our lives is about relationships. So we might as well find out how to do them well. That is what we're going to do this term. So right from the top, why are we talking about this? Why talk about relationships? I think there are three big reasons. The first reason is that relationships are unavoidable. Here's a quiz question for you. How many people do you think you will meet in your life? Just have a guess. How many other human beings will you meet? I don't know why I'm excluding other animals, but specifically, how many people will you meet in your life? Someone on the internet, and don't quote me on this because it might be a load of rubbish, but someone on the internet has crunched some numbers and they've come up with the number 80,000 people. On average, you will meet 80,000 people in your life. I mean, that is bonkers number. And obviously a lot of those people you'll never see again, right? Like, that's also crazy to think you're going to meet some people in your life that you literally never see again. Whoa. And some people, you know, you'll see a few times, but a lot of those people will actually matter to your life. There'll be people that you have to work with, people that, you know, you will have a chance to impact, people who will impact you. Like, relationships are unavoidable. If you want to work in this world, relationships will be involved. If you want to have friends, relationships will be involved. We can't survive without them. Even, maybe especially in this time of lockdown, we reach out for relationships. We need them, they're unavoidable. I wish it wasn't like this, because I am an introvert and I like to be on my own. But I can't avoid relationships, sadly. Even us people who just like to sit and read a book and be quiet, you know, we get pestered by other people, don't we? We have to learn how to interact with them well. Relationships are unavoidable, that's obvious. The second reason to talk about this is that relationships are a rollercoaster. Some of the absolute best moments and best things in our lives come from relationships. You know, the really great friendships that we have. The times when we're with a group of people and we just laugh together and we feel included and loved. The times when we have like a squad, maybe like a team or a band or something, and we achieve something together. Relationships bring some of the best things in our lives. But they also bring some of the worst things in our lives and in our world. You know, the feeling of rejection, of being hurt. People that say mean stuff to us that sticks in our hearts and our minds. Bigger picture, you know, you've got stuff like racism and exclusion and injustice. These are all relationship things. These are things that happen through relationships. They're a roller coaster. It can be incredible and terrible. And often exactly the same relationship with the same person can be sometimes incredible and sometimes terrible. Relationships are unavoidable, so we might as well learn about them. They're also a roller coaster, so wouldn't it be great to learn? How can we maximize the ups and get through the downs? But the third reason we got to talk about relationships is that God is all about our relationships. You know, it took me a long time to realize this. When I was just kind of starting out as a Christian, I thought it was all about me and God. You know, as long as me and God was good, then like the Christian box was ticked. Everything was going well. As long as I spent time reading my Bible, going to church, praying and all of that, then that's what being a Christian was all about. And that is what being a Christian is about. It is about me and God. But one of the things I had to learn as I got older is that being a Christian is also about me and you. It's about us together. It's not just about me and God, it's about me and you. God is all about our relationships. And when we disconnect those things, we've got a problem. Something's not right. It's supposed to be one package. God, me, you, us together. Our human family, if you like. God is all about our relationships. One time, well, several times actually, people asked Jesus, what is the most important commandments? Like, just spell it out for me. You know, not too long, didn't read. I need something short and pithy that I can carry. And Jesus says the most important thing is to love God with your whole self, is that relationship between you and God. That is the most important. But the next most important thing, and it's still important, is to love your neighbour as yourself. And it's almost as if those two are kind of one and the same. You can't really do one without the other. God is all about our relationships. Relationships aren't something that we came up with on our own, something we just, you know, as humans, we just do to deal with our lives. Relationships are something that God designed. He has a blueprint for them. So let's explore that. What is God's blueprint for our relationships? Again, 3 things. We love 3 things here at HT Youth. 3 things. God's blueprint for our relationships. The first one, our relationships were made to be good. They were made to be good. I don't know if any of you guys have seen this TV series been going on recently. It's called The Queen's Gambit. Come across this? It's a story about someone who's really good at chess. And so many people had told me it was really good. So I was like, well, I have to watch this show. But I suck at chess. I'm not really that interested in it. And I'm not interested because I suck. I played my nephew recently who's 9 and he beat me. And I was trying, like, I just actually suck. But anyway, I watched the first episode and I was like, I'm still not really that into it. And I was almost going to give up. But so many people had told me this show's really good that I carried on. And in the end, I got really into it. I actually, I looked up some chess strategies and got really, but it turns out I'm still rubbish at chess. But it was actually good. All those people told me and I believed them and I gave it a go. And the thing about relationships is, sometimes, like I said earlier, they're a roller coaster. And maybe for some of us right now, we feel like we're in one of those dips when it comes to relationships. Like they're hard, maybe we feel lonely. I think a lot of people feel lonely right now in lockdown. Or we're stuck with people and we're finding it hard to get on with them. And it might be a bit like a more extreme version of me with that first episode of The Queen's Gambit. You're like, is this really worth it? What's the point? Should I really keep going? It doesn't seem like it's any good. But God would remind us, relationships were designed to be good. Relationships are good. If you flip to Genesis chapter 1, actually Genesis chapter 2. So, you know, God creates everything. We talked about this back in the summer. I don't know if you remember. God made everything and it's all good. He made the stars and they're good. He made the sea and the animals and they're good. And then he made humans and they are very good. Oh yes. But then there's something that's not good. The first not good in the whole Bible. And it comes in Genesis chapter 2 verse 18. God said, it is not good for the human to be alone. It's not good for us to be alone. And so God takes the human, divides the human in two and makes man and woman, and he makes relationship, and that is good. And you get this, like, the man sings this kind of like first poem to the woman, and relationship is good. God made relationship to be good. That's what it was designed to be. And that is still true for us today. You know, at the start of this week, when lockdown was announced and everything, I felt rubbish. Maybe some of you guys did as well. I just felt so low and tired and exhausted and frustrated with how the world is right now. But then on Tuesday evening, I met up with my home group, like my small group, and we were just chatting about how we were doing and we prayed. And you know what? It really changed my week. I woke up on Wednesday morning and I felt really different. Because I'd had these other people give me different perspectives. Some of them had stuff to be thankful for. We prayed together and it lifted me out of that place of lowness and frustration. I'm sure I'll feel that again, but the point is, God used relationships there. They're still good. He made them to be good, and they're still so important for us today. We've got to remember that in this time. We've got to be reaching out to other people for our own sake and for theirs, because relationships are designed to be good. The second thing, quickly, is that relationships were designed to be diverse and united. We're not made to be all the same. It's like the Marvel films. I know I refer to them a lot, but I do love a good Marvel film. But the Avengers series, one of the things that's so great about watching it is you have all of these characters. You have Captain America and Iron Man and like objectively the best one, Hulk. Just love Hulk. And then none of them can do what the other ones can do. They all have different, apart from maybe Captain Marvel. She might be a bit overpowered, but they all have different powers. And the cool thing about the film is they all have to learn how to use their differences and work together as a team. And that's a bit like how God has made us. We're not made to be all the same. We talked about that just now. When God makes relationship, he splits a human in two and makes two different people, man and woman. One of the pictures that Paul says about the church is that we're made to be one body, but we're all different parts. God deliberately makes us different. We don't have to be the same. But relationships were made to be people who are different coming together and being united like the Avengers. It means that when we come across someone who's different from us, and we all struggle to get on with people who are different from us. It's hard, isn't it? Like naturally we want to hang out with people who are the same and who are interested in the same stuff. When we come across someone who's different, that could just be an opportunity for one of the most powerful relationships in our life. Some of the most powerful and significant relationships are when we can learn to be united with someone who's different, to get on with someone who thinks differently, who believes even different stuff, who has different gifts. Relationships were made to be diverse but united. That is how God designed it. And the last thing in God's blueprint is that relationships were made, you're not going to believe this, relationships were made to show what God is like to us. Our relationships with one another were designed to give each other a picture of God. Now at this point we have to pause, because that's a pretty massive claim. Like, you might have heard what I've said so far and be like, well, relationships can be good, but they can also not be. Relationships can be diverse and united, but look at the world, look at politics, like often they're not. Often diverse people don't get on. But if you're going to say relationships showing what God is like, I'm going to draw the line there. That's just not true. Like, our relationships, sometimes, in the very best maybe, but most of the time they're not like that, are they? They're much more grimy and dirty and messed up. Mine certainly are, anyway. Well, you see, the thing is, we're using Lego as our pictures for this series, mostly because Lego is really cool and a bit cute. But God didn't actually make us to be like Lego. He didn't just set up relationships and stick us to the floor so that he could walk past us every day and be like, I made that and that's really cool. God didn't make us as Lego, he made us as people. We're free, we move, we have choice. And one of the things is, isn't this true? So often we don't live according to the design. We call that sin, right? The Bible calls it sin. We go off in a different direction, we do our own thing. We don't do relationships in the way that God made them, and that's one of the reasons why they get so messy. And they get more than messy, don't they? If you think of some of the horrible stuff that happens in relationships, it's the worst. So what does God do about it? What does he do about the mess that we cause when we go off blueprint, we do our own thing, we scribble all over God's plans? God sends a relationship. God comes as a human because we can relate to a human. He comes as Jesus. And Jesus has this relationship with people. He shows them what God is like. At one point Jesus basically says, if you want to see God, look at me. This relationship Jesus had with people, it was showing them what God was like. The way Jesus treats people, it shows us what God is like. The way he talks is what kinds of things that God says. And this relationship is so full of love and grace and forgiveness that Jesus dies for us. For the mess that we've made, he goes to the cross and dies for us, for all the relationship failures and everything else we've done. And he rises again. And when he rises again, he gives us himself to be in our hearts. And when we know that, when we have the Holy Spirit, then our relationships become ways that we can show people God. There's an amazing passage. We've got to go there. If anything I just said hasn't made sense to you, maybe this will help. It's 1 John chapter 4. Try and find it with me. I really should have prepared my Bible in advance, but we're all learning. It's lockdown. We all have grace for each other, don't we? 1 John chapter 4. We're getting there. Verses 7 to 12. Check this out. This is so good. Verse 7. Dear friends, let us love one another, for love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever doesn't love doesn't know God, because God is love. That's kind of like what I was saying earlier about this connection between me and God and me and other people. He's basically saying, if you love other people, there's a good chance you're connected to God. If you don't, maybe you're not. And then he says this. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that we might live through him. This is love. Not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as a sacrifice for our sins. It's just saying, love, actually, we can't conjure it up. We can't live this blueprint on our own. And so God shows us. God is the ultimate relationship. God is the love that we need. He shows us what love is. And in verse 11 and 12, dear friends, since God loved us, let's love one another. No one's ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us and his love is made complete in us. That means we can't see God because God is spirit and God is in heaven and around us all the time, but we can't see him. But if we love each other, then we get a glimpse of God. The way we treat other people gives them a glimpse of what God is like. That is a huge vision for our relationships. It's massive. The way we treat people, it has the potential to give them a glimpse of what God is like. Through our relationships, our friendships, the way we treat our parents, our family, even the way we treat people in a shop. So what are we going to do about this? I'm coming to a close. We can't answer this question right now. We can't say everything there is to say about relationships today. And you guys are going to have to stay tuned over the next few weeks as we explore this a bit more. But I just want to say one thing. And it won't come as a surprise to you, but it's this. If we want to learn how to do relationships well, if we want to have good relationships, diverse but united, relationships where we even give other people a glimpse of God's love, we have to start with our relationship with God. We have to start there. We've got to start by coming to God every day and asking him to fill us up with his love first. That's what this John passage is saying. Love starts with God and what he has done for us in Jesus. And then it comes to us and then it flows out from us to the world. We're like a bucket. God fills us up and then we overflow with his love to the other buckets around us, if you like that image. We start with our relationship with God. Guys, we talk about this all the time. What would it look like for you this year, 2021? What would it look like for you to spend that time every day, to come to God and let yourself be filled with his love so that you can share it with the people around you? It's why we've made these Philippians booklets, which if you can find online, and we're going to send one to you. It's why we always encourage you over and over. One of my favourite passages in the whole Bible is John 15. Jesus in John 15, he says this: if you remain in me, I will remain in you. For us today, we can kind of interpret that. If we remain in God's love will stay and overflow from us. If we want to have good relationships, if we want to see diverse but united relationships, we can start by going to God over and over and over again, letting him fill us and letting that overflow to the people around us. And the second thing we can do as we go to God is we can pray not just for ourselves, but pray for the relationships that we have. And that's my second challenge. The first is, how are you going to come to God every day this year? And the second is, who are you going to pray for? You know, you might want to have a little list. I do this, I find it really helpful. It's like Monday, I'm praying for these people. Tuesday, these people. And then, you know, for every day of the week, you have different people that you're praying for to make sure that everyone is covered, you know, all the people that you want to be praying for. And it's huge. One of the biggest ways we can love people is by praying for them regularly. It's not the only way, our actions are important, but who are you going to pray for? Who are you going to spend time chatting to God about and asking him to bless? All right, I think that's enough from me for now. I'm going to send you off into your small groups to have more time to chat about this. So off you go.